Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Business Brunch Live with a very special guest today, Mr. Andrew Priestley. Nice to see you. We'll come and introduce you in just a moment. But welcome to the show. This show is for aspiring, inspiring leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners who want to connect with like-minded people, learn something new, remind themselves of something they might have forgotten, just have this growth mindset and evolve and thrive in this crazy world that we're all living in at the moment. So if you are new to the show, don't feel shy. Say hello in the comments. You may not see everyone else's comments in because we stream across a wide variety of channels. But do say hello. Let us know where you are. What we do is we spend just a few minutes saying hi, quick round up what we've done at the weekend. For those of you who watched this before, you might notice there is something a little different about Vanessa. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure it out. And for those who've never seen it before, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. So you'll have to watch back. It's a pretty good show. But pop in, say hello, let us know where you are. But I just want to introduce myself. I'm Sarah Farmer. I'm an executive coach and I specialize in working with senior leaders and C-suite executives, helping them develop the mindset and the skills that allow them to achieve outstanding results. We have the amazing Vanessa Ashworth. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm a marketer, a B2B marketer. So I step in to make you step out. And I'm currently working with a software company called 2i. But I'm a marketer.
You're a marketer, a bloody good one as well. And Melinda.
Hi, my name is Melinda Ward. I am the Director of Consulting Solutions and Managed Services at Helm 360. I've got about 25 years of experience in consultant management, consulting, and business transformation.
Which is amazing. She started when she was 5. It's incredible. And then we have the wonderful Andrew Priestley, who I've had the pleasure of talking to on a couple of occasions now. And every time we speak, I'm just inspired. So I'm so delighted you could join us today. But Andrew is an award-winning executive coach. How many books have you written? 97 million? I don't know, lots. Great, and a lot of books. And you're going to be talking to us today about The Speed of Leadership, which is a new book you've got coming out, and the 5 principles of transformational leadership, which we're looking forward to. But tell us a little bit, what else do we need to know about you? Because there's so much to know.
Look. Firstly, thanks for having me on this show. It's really, really lovely to hang out with people who just take an interest in leadership. And 2 things about my platform is, number one, we need good leaders, right? Yeah. And we need them more so right now, right?
Oh, more than ever.
And the thing I bang on about all the time is leadership is grown-ups' work. Okay, so it's like if you're in a leadership role, you're there to serve, you're there to be a grown-up, you're there to lead in a way that benefits everyone. Your intention should be to add value to the situation. That's what I'm banging on about all the time. Apart from that, I grow veggies, I cook, I play music, I sit at home and groom the dog. You know, it's life's pretty simple.
It sounds bliss.
When I'm not writing books and leading mentors, I'm grooming the dog and growing vegetables.
We've got to have some downtime, haven't you? We're going to say hello to some people that are popping in, and we'll also just do our usual quick roundup of what we've been up to at the weekend, just while we're getting people tapped in. I'll quickly start with. I did stuff. I watched my daughter ride a horse. She rode the most amazing proper show jumper this weekend, which she's never had an opportunity to ride before. And she flew, and I was so proud, very scared, very proud. She looked incredible. So now we need to find a way of buying her a new one. That isn't going to happen for a while. And then eating popcorn with my son, watching the Formula One last night. So perfect weekend for me. Vanessa. Did you do anything?
Yeah, a little quiet weekend for Vanessa.
It's a quiet weekend, yeah. So I helped to deliver the Rivington Festival of Light. So as you know, I've been creating all these huge willow lanterns for months and months and leading a team of about 15 to 20 people every Sunday to create these lanterns. So we installed them all up on the hill over the weekend on Thursday and Friday. Friday night we opened. We've had 4,200 people come to the festival over the 3 nights. and it's just been incredible. And the weather was kind. You know, in previous years, we've had horrific rain and wind, and we're on the top of the hill, on the corner of the moors. It's really, you know, exposed. But it was just incredible. And yeah, and in between all that, got a little haircut.
You had a trim, didn't you? You had a little trim.
Yeah, a little trim. You know, just popped in and said.
Well, you did say you were going to do it last week, and you've done it. So, and you look fabulous. Well done, you. You look fierce, fabulous, and wonderful.
Absolutely.
Melinda, what about you? Quickly, what were you up
I
to?
saw actually an amazing movie with a group of friends on Friday night. I saw The Woman King. Viola Davis is starring in it and also did some of the production as well. And it's based on a true story about the African tribe of women warriors called the Dahomey. And it is an incredible film, highly recommended. There is battle violence in it, but it's not gory. And I'm a bit squeamish with gore, and I was fine with the film. So,
do you know what? I was going to watch that tonight with the kids.
Yeah, it's so.
I mean, big kids, not like baby stuff.
Yeah, it's not for younger kids, but you know, like teenagers. It's a powerful film.
Stroppy, moody teenagers, perfect, just like that. And Andrew, you had a busy night last night.
Yeah, I had a mate of mine who came over for supper, and he's a retired ex-High Court judge, and as you do, we just kicked around what's been happening in the UK over the last week, and which was really fascinating from his perspective. And yeah, it was good. It was a good evening. And during the day, I was fixing up what do you call that thing that it's like a cold tunnel or something? You put it over your vegetables. It's a
cold frame.
It's a So I took out a whole lot of plants in my I have a vegetable patch, and I spent the whole day just rigging that up, weeding that out, mulching, and then putting this cold frame over that. So, and then planting lettuces for Christmas.
Nice.
It sounds so wholesome. Good for you. Should we say hi to who has popped in so far?
Yeah, we've only had a few comments, so don't be shy. Come and say hello. So Andy David is here, and he says hello. Thank you for coming back, Andy. And Alfonso Edwards says hello. Good morning, everyone. So he must be somewhere because it's afternoon.
Where are you, Alfonso? If it's morning, where are you?
And then Andy, which I love this, Vanessa, because she's Ashworth it.
Love it.
Thank you. But yeah, please, everyone, do drop in, say hello to us, tell us where you are in the world. And of course, when Andrew starts to share with us his knowledge about leadership and about it being grown-ups work, I really love the idea. I've already started taking notes to always add value to the situation. I like that already. But yeah, please do put your comments in the comments, ask questions, and then periodically we'll pause, Andrew, and we'll kind of pass those comments on.
We will do. And I think, why don't we kick off? Because I know we've got a lot to cover, and there's a mountain of information in Mr. Priestley's head, which I'd love to get into. Shall we start with the 5 principles of transformational leadership? So you've explained what they are, which I'm going to read it out so I don't get it wrong. Awareness, assertiveness, agreements, adjustment, and accountability. You're going to take us through that in a very light form today. We don't have obviously time to go through it in any great detail, but how did you come to that? How did you get there?
It's a really good question, because most people that you talk to who are in leadership space, what you do is you want to know who are effective leaders. It's a great question. Ask yourself, who do I think is a good leader, right? And if you struggle with that, ask yourself, who do I think is a bad leader? And then you look at, well, what do I think makes up a good leader, or what do I think makes up a bad leader, right? And just see what comes out of the mind there. So the way I approached it, I was reading, like everyone, reading books by, Lee Iacocca and Anita Roddick was a book. I loved Anita Roddick's book. Jack Welch. It's sort of the list of books you're supposed to read if you're in the leadership space, right? Mm-hmm. And what I found was there's a whole lot of qualities that leaders are supposed to have. And I was working on a mining site. I was actually coaching guys out on a mining site, the leadership team. And I took out a whole bunch of, I'd driven out in Australia, I'd driven out 450 miles out into the Western Desert on the edge of this mining area here. And I've got 30 guys, and I'm talking about big, tall guys, you know, the teeth are usually missing and they're unshaven and they're coming in to do a leadership workshop. You know, what's this leadership stuff you're talking about, right? The idea behind it was about primarily that the site would run effectively and efficiently, because when something goes wrong on a mining site, it's $1 million a day downtime per piece of equipment, right? So leadership is quite a big important part of that. Management, I would have said, but anyway, they said it was leadership. And I don't know if you've ever done an event where you're 10 minutes in and sort of people are looking at their watches.
Not the best sign, is it?
It's a tough audience. Anyway, by 9:30, we started at 9:30. It's a dead audience, right? And I'm going, oh God, this is awful. This is really, really awful. And some guys are looking at their watches. Some are shaking their watches to see if they've actually stopped and they're still working. But I just, you know that feeling. Oh my God, it's the self-talk takes over. I'm terrible, right? This is not working at all, right? And so I did what every great presenter does. I just said, time for a coffee break. Go and have a smoko, right? Mm-hmm. And so I sent them out. And while they're out doing that, which, you know, they just left immediately. It was great. Anyway, I got rid of all the books. I got rid of the projector. I got rid of the PowerPoint. Everything was gone when they came back about 20 minutes later. And I thought, they're not going to learn anything from me. I want to learn something from them. So I asked them, great question, as I discovered. I didn't think it was at the time, but I've since found it's quite powerful. Who do you respect? Who do you trust? Who do you follow on this site? Mm-hmm. Right, so it's a big work site, right? Who do you respect? You don't have to like them. And this is the thing about leadership. We often think, oh, it's about popularity, right? It's not often about that, you know. It's why it's grown-ups work, you know. When my son says to me, why are the kids so good when you have them for babysitting, Dad? You know, because, you know, it's a grown-up, you know, that's what you do. So anyway, I got these guys, 30 blokes, and I said, who on this site do you respect and you follow and you trust? And what I want you to do is I just want you to break up into groups and kick that around for 15 minutes, and you're going to come back and you're going to share what you found, right? What stunned me was it was the same two people, right? So you've got people off in different areas who can't hear one another, and they've all come back to the same two people, right? And we'll call it Frank and we'll call it Linda, right? So, okay, what is it about Frank that you like? And the story would go something like this. Frank just knows what's happening on this site. He knows what's happening. He'll come down and he just seems to know what's happening, right? Yep. And if he doesn't like what's happening, he'll say something to you. And then he'll say, who was supposed to be doing this job? Who was doing that? What did we agree on that? And whoever says, oh, well, that was me. Well, what do we pay you to do? Did you agree to do this or not? Yeah. And okay, that's good. So what am I going to look like? What's success going to look like moving forward? And it was sort of that sort of narrative. But the thing was, everybody agreed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what are we actually saying? So if you unpack it, let me just do a little sidebar if I can. The world comes at you. The only way you understand what's happening in the world is through your five senses, right? Of which it's what you see, what you hear, what you feel are our primary ones. Not usually what you smell or what you taste. That's usually how a dog interprets the world, right? But humans, by what we see, what we hear, and what we feel. And then you've got to make sense of that experience, and you do that by turning that into language. Someone's got a dog going, right? So
that's me. Sorry, I'm just going to go mute.
So the dog's going out in sympathy here. The dog knows exactly what I'm saying, right? So you got to turn that into language, and there's been a lot of research when I mentor leaders globally, right? And it's not like I know their I work with people in the tech space, in medical space, in law and stuff like that. It's not so much that I know their subjects, but I'm listening to how they express their experience and the language that they use. And fortunately, it's not hard to understand, right? So I'm asking these guys to tell me the story in their language, and they're using certain words and phrases that immediately I go, oh, I see what they're trying to say to me now. I understand what they're saying, right? So the first one was, Frank knows what's happening, right? They're talking about awareness.
Yeah.
And what I found was, if I'd had that blinding flash that first time out, I would have thought, oh, that was amazing. But honestly, Sarah, it was 5 years. It was over a 5-year period. I was keep doing it, and before it clicked, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It was slowly over time, and working with lots of different industries. Like I worked with a few hospital trusts, things like that. I cut my teeth with life and limb industries. So on a good day, if something goes wrong, someone gets injured, but on a bad day, somebody dies, right? On a good day, you have a breakdown and it's okay, but on a bad day, it's $1 million a day downtime and the parts are 42 days away. You get it? Yeah. So it's big chips when you get it wrong in that lead. So you've really got to be on top of what's happening, right? So they would say, yeah, Frank knows what's happening. They're talking about awareness, right? And when you work with essential services, like military, and I've worked with military and I've worked with policing and paramedics and ambulance and lawmakers and things like that. There's your situational awareness. I know what's happening outside of me. There's a self-awareness. Is I know how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a response awareness. I know what I should do about that. And so the leaders that we find frustrating, they don't know what's going on. So flip it over. They don't really, this guy hasn't got a clue. And, we're criticizing a couple of leaders at the moment. How could they even say stuff? Are they even in touch with the reality? You get it? A big one, seeing as we're talking about emotional intelligence, is I know how I feel about it. And
can I ask you a question about that? Because you talked about this before, and obviously my area is similar to yours. I have a similar interest here in the leadership space. And I work a lot on the emotional intelligence side of things, the self-awareness side of things. What percentage of leaders do you think are actually self-aware, and what makes them self-aware?
But I would say 100% of leaders are self-aware, right? But they ignore their awareness.
Okay. Okay, good answer. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
The bad ones ignore their awareness, right?
Yeah.
So your awareness, your awareness works perfectly. That's not your problem, right?
Okay.
We know this because I study things like Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that, where your awareness doesn't work so well, right? But your awareness works fine if you don't ignore it. And that's when you get into trouble, right? So I'll give you an example. I've worked with air traffic controllers. I'm looking at that terminal. There's an A380 coming on this side and a little Bell 47 coming on this side, right? I think I'll go for a coffee, right? They're on a collision course. No, your awareness says I need to do something. My awareness is working perfectly. Well, it'll get me in trouble if I go for a coffee. That looks too scary. I don't feel good about that. And when you work with people in essential services, they don't feel good about the situation, but they're trained to respond to it. Right? So in policing and military, it's asymmetrical situations. Symmetrical is where you know what's happening and you know what to do about it. Asymmetrical is, I'm not sure what this is and I'm not even sure what to do about it. And that's where the training really kicks in. So they're saying about Frank, he knows what's happening, and we like people who know what's happening. Secondly, he says, I'm not happy about that. And there's a whole school which says you've got to be PC in your communication and all this sort of stuff. No, you just need to assert, right? So Frank will open his gob and speak up, right? So here's the question. What's the definition of assert?
Well,
to speak with clarity of purpose.
Yeah, that's good, but it's no cigar.
For me, assertiveness is about saying what needs to be said, whether somebody wants to hear it or not. But I also, and I know we've talked about this before, is to say it in a way that the other person can hear. So this isn't ignoring your behavioural style preference or how you communicate, but it's having the confidence to say what needs to be said.
Yeah, it is a confidence.
And it's not a confidence either. And this is another thing about leadership. A lot of leaders I work with aren't confident.
Yeah.
See, confidence is a byproduct of something else, But assert is simply, if you look it up, it's simply have an opinion and state it.
Yeah.
Whether you're confident or not, that's what assertive aggressive people, you know the difference between assertive and assertive aggressive, right? And unassertive, non-assertive are the people who drive us nuts because why didn't you say something to me?
Yeah.
Why didn't you speak up, right? So Frank will speak up, right? And then the third thing was who's doing what? What good leaders do, and again, it was over a long period of time where I started to look at who's effective, who do I don't necessarily like them, but I trust them and I respect them and I'd follow them. And they broke a clear agreements. What am I going to do? Yeah. What are you going to do? We get clear on that, right? So a lot of leaders operate without having any agreement in place. Yeah. And they create this environment where there's no psychological safety. They're just top-down delivery and there's no agreement or buy-in, for example. The fourth one was, were you going to do this or not? Did you say is it your job or not? What do I pay you to do? That's really holding accountable. But the leader who does that is also holding themselves accountable to get that result. So I'm mentoring a guy at the moment where I'm saying, mate, be the leader in this situation. Yeah, but it's uncomfortable. So what?
Yeah, it is uncomfortable, and you take the job on. It is an uncomfortable job to do. There's some stuff you're going to have to do that is really unpleasant. You're not going to enjoy it, but then if you get it right more of the time, there's some amazing things that you can feel on the other side of that.
So if you're sort of leading and no one's following you, for example, you're just going for a walk.
Or you are gold.
And then the last one is the adjust part. This is what they said to me. Why do you like Frank? I don't like him. What is it you respect and trust? So it was the wording. They weren't using the word like. No. Because I said, Frank's not a really friendly guy.
It's interesting because liking is one of the 7 powers of persuasion. If you read another book, is it Cialdini? Oh God, who is it?
Cialdini, yeah, right.
Yeah. So liking is one of the 7 powers of persuasion. So how do you sort of cope with that then in your thought process? If you don't have to like me, but you only have to respect me, where does liking come into it? Is it not essential to be liked then?
Everybody wants to be liked. We all want to be liked. That's true. But in some of the jobs that I've worked in, that perspective is too myopic for what they're trying to achieve. Right? They have to be respected, and it's not like I'm going to force respect. It's who you are and who you're being. Think of it like this: it's your behaviours, how I'm behaving, the skills that I'm applying, the competencies that I'm applying, gain respect. The values, more importantly, you were talking about that you're a mindset and what did you say in the introduction? Mindset and
leadership skills.
Yeah, mindset and skills. So you've got the skills and competencies, but mindset is about values and beliefs.
Yeah.
Right. And increasingly, the work, like when we're mentoring, think about it this way: a basketball coach is really someone who looks at behaviour and then modifies behaviour. And then usually it's what you can observe. So we talk about a swim coach and we talk a basketball coach, right? And so if you can observe the behaviour and then tweak it, you're really a coach, right? And if you're teaching someone how to do something, you're really a facilitator because you're explaining how does this work. And if you listen to the questioning, what should I be doing? They're really asking about behaviours, right? How should I be doing it? They're really looking for a teacher or a facilitator. I know what to do, but how do I do it? It's a different set of things, right? So somebody says, how do I get people to cooperate with me? In other words, they're saying, I don't have the skill to do it. So the mindset and values part you're talking about is you're never going to get cooperation unless you go up. Forget about I can learn all the skills I like, but if I haven't got the mindset that goes with that skill, I'm not going to engender that cooperation, if you know what I mean. So someone who works on skills, mindset and values is really mentor. That's why I mentor.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
Then someone who...
Can I just hold you back 1 second?
Sure.
Vanessa, we've got people coming in. Let's just say hello to people and just see what they're saying.
Okay, we'll do that. So yeah, as Sarah said, as we all agree, Andy says, this is absolute gold. So what you are seeing is being heard and appreciated. And then we've got people who came in earlier and said hello. So David McAllister says, good afternoon from Glasgow. Jo Twistleton is with us. She says, afternoon from a sunny Cambridgeshire. She's really looking forward to this. And then she went on to say, Jo Jansen said she's listening in the background and working, but very interested in the topic. Jo said Anita Roddick was ace. And this has recently been discovered. It's a joy to listen to. And then she shared a link to something on the BBC. So Patrick Dankel, it says hello from Germany. And Andy David agrees that Anita Roddick was an amazing person. That is all.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of, as you were saying, Sarah, that being liked is one of those seven somethings of persuasion.
Seven powers of persuasion.
Also, I suppose you don't have to like somebody, but if you like the way they lead, if you respect the way they lead, if you respect the position they take and how they make you feel by giving you the comfort to work and to knowing that you follow them, you have confidence in their leadership. There's a lot to be liked in that, even if you don't actually have that personal warm relationship with that person.
I like that a lot, because I was thinking actually it's not about, if I respect you, I don't dislike you. I'm respecting you. It's not about I want to be your best mate. It's about I like what you're doing, as you just said. Yeah, beautifully captured, Vanessa, with your new haircut.
My background's industrial organisational psych, and I did an internship in a rehab clinic, right? And they talk about love yourself, right? And most people love themselves, but a lot of people don't like themselves. And so the affirmation for those people is not love yourself, it's I like myself. And if you're watching this, try that as an affirmation for a day. I like myself. Rather than I love myself, because a lot of people go, oh, love's a bit, am I having a bit too much, me stuff? But I like myself, right? The last aspect, and it was a nice definition what you said before, but the last point was, and this came out time and time again, repeatedly, right? If we're doing something well, Frank lets us know.
Right.
And he gives us the credit. If we're doing something bad, he usually says, what did I do that contributed to this? And the people hey, have you guys worked with a 24-karat gold-plated narcissist before?
Maybe
not too. Oh, they're the genuine article. They're just like, they're just off the Richter scale narcissists, right? Usually they don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
they say they do, but they don't. They're assertive aggressive.
Oh yeah.
Right. The agreements are unclear.
Yeah. What was a few of them?
The accountability goes south in this last one, which is if something goes well, they take all the credit, and if something goes bad, they apportion all the blame.
Is that the adjustment bit? Sorry, Andrew. Is that where you're?
The adjustment part is where, as a leader, you go, this isn't working. I need to adjust something. I need to tweak something. Right. Yeah. So the adjustment really comes at the end of it. It's not the second last, but it's the last one.
Okay.
Right. But adjustment is what the people I work with. One reason they're doing mentoring and coaching is because they want to adjust something. Right. Mm-hmm. And they're brave enough to go to recognize. And if you have a look at the research, the cycles of change, for example, Prochaska, Di Clementi, who are the rehab clinic guys, right? But it's a good, robust model for how we change anything, right? The people who can't adjust relapse. They go straight back to their default setting. So they say they're going to change, but under pressure they don't. So for me, my work was working in high pressure environments, but I'm working with people who have to lead under pressure as well. And where do you go to? I'm really fascinated by where do people go under pressure. Who you are is who you are under pressure.
Yeah.
That's why it's grown-ups work, because grown-ups can cope with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Kids can't. Kids crumble, Adult is, people say, why don't you be an adult? No, adult's just your chronological age. That's it. And I know a lot of adults who are really kids masquerading as an adult, and they're not even in the ballpark of grown-up.
I'm not looking at myself. Definitely a real
present company accepted.
Definitely a real grown-up. What are you thinking, Melinda?
But that's how I came up with it. It was by talking to these different people over and over and over, and then eventually it's one of those things where I get it. So the questions you want to ask yourself to check your awareness: do I know what's going on? That's a good awareness question. Do I speak up as it's needed? And you don't have to be political. What I find is great leaders actually don't do a lot of talking. They do a lot of questioning. They do a lot of scrutiny. Right. So, for example,
they're listening. They actually listen to the bloody answers, don't they? Yeah, instead of just asking a question for the sake of it.
So when I employed staff and in the work of working as a chairman of a charity and working on non-executive director boards and stuff like that, when I ask a question, I'm not interested in the information. I already know the information, right? The point of me asking a question is to drive accountability.
Yeah. It all makes perfect sense, and it's Andy's loving this. Andy's having a ball today.
Otherwise, you'll go down the route of I got to be Lee Iacocca's 9 C's, or I got to be Norman Schwarzkopf's 13 things, or Colin Powell's this, or Anita Roddick was just a master of agreements, and a lot of people don't understand that. It's not tested on animals. It's fair pay for a fair day's work for the people who grew the raw ingredients, and it's good advice for women over the counter. And anyone who worked for it, do you agree with that or what?
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with it, you can't work here.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice and simple. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously so much that sits underneath all of this. There's all the skills, all the behaviours, all the things people can learn. But actually, if they understand these 5 buckets, they've at least got a chance, haven't they, of getting it right more than getting it wrong. And it will raise their awareness even a fraction more, which could be the saving grace for so many leaders out there that are, I love the way you describe this, choosing not to tune into their awareness. They're ignoring it. I always thought of it as they didn't have it, but of course they've got it. They're just not choosing to see it. Melinda, what do you think? I know you've been through so many interesting leadership experiences.
Yeah. I guess I am curious, Andrew. When you started your story a little while ago, you said that the people at the mine respected 2 people, and you focused on Frank. And I was wondering if the other person that you'd mentioned, who you'd called Linda, had the same attributes effectively, or brought different attributes to the table.
No, it's the same. It was the same characteristics. Linda knows what's happening. She opens up and says what she needs to say. She gets clear agreements from her team. She holds people accountable for what they agreed to do, and she adjusts the game if it's not working. And those were the things they found. Like if you look at Google's research into, I think it's called the Oxygen Project, and also the Aristotle Project. There's 2 of them. So Google wanted to know what makes effective leaders run effective teams. So they had to look at teams and leaders, right? And I think it was the Aristotle Project says psychological safety is the number one thing that makes for effective teams. But they said, how does a leader create an environment of psychological safety, right? And so that they then put the spotlight on effective leaders. How do you lead a team to elicit those 5 key things out of those people? And Linda is someone who, I met Linda, no pushover. Absolutely not a walkover at all, right? But not one of the boys. She's not trying to be one of the boys. She was just really grounded in her approach to her job. She was very professional, very competent, right? And if someone, here's a great one for you, right? We go to a meeting to somebody who doesn't know, and they introduce Linda, and the guy at the table says, "Oh, white too, love." Right? And Linda goes, "I heard you just say white and two, love. How do you mean?" And he goes, "Oh, well, white coffee, 2 sugars. I just heard you say white coffee, 2 sugars. How do you mean?" So, like, the skill was not even, "I'm going to fence this. I'm just going to repeat back your stupidity to you." And he said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean that." "Oh, I just heard you say you didn't mean it. How do you mean?" And at that point, the guide was just shut down. So
I love
be
Linda.
accountable for your words.
Yes, I love Linda. I want Linda in my life. So one of the 5 human psychological needs is fairness. And what I'm hearing through this consistently is it may feel uncomfortable, but it's going to be fair. And everybody gets the same treatment. There isn't any, I like you more, so I'll be kinder to you. You're my friend. It's incredibly fair. And when you take away fairness, you take away a big human psychological need that I think a lot of employees in businesses are facing right now, is they don't feel they're being treated fair enough, especially with you work from home, you're back in the office, but you have to come in on a Tuesday between 3:33 and 9:37. And you've got to, it's just insane, and it's being messed with, isn't it? What are your thoughts on that then? What's going on with the working from home versus coming back to the office malarkey?
Well, I think some of that though comes back to listening, doesn't it? And all of those things that you've just expressed, Sarah, are situations where management is not listening to what the teams are saying, and so therefore there's a disconnect.
Yeah. But it's creating an environment where listening is valued, and it's got a place, right? And people know that if I know you heard me, but it doesn't necessarily also mean that I'm then going to do what I heard,
Yeah, exactly, of course.
So if you put it on a mining site, look, I'd like to do, but no, you can't. The law doesn't allow you to do that. It's a health and safety environment. You can't do it that way, right? Like initiations on a mining site. You got to light a stick of dynamite and throw it and run. No, my guy who I was coaching, he's a new site manager. He says that these guys aren't going to like me because this is a well-established initiation practice on this mining site. I said, "Why don't you like it?" He said, "Because normally I have to go and explain to a widow why her husband died. It wasn't an accident. It was because I can't do my job properly," which was enforce health and safety. So I said, "How do you want to play it?" And we talked that through, and he said, "Well, it's zero tolerance. If I hear about it, you don't work here anymore. No one's going to like that."
No. So actually,
removing something. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is that we're back to awareness and assertiveness. Is that if your job requires you to be in the office and there's a real reason to do that, have the balls to stand up and say, "This is why we're doing what we're doing," and don't skirt around the subject. We can't listen to every individual employee and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, Bob, you need to be out on a Wednesday at 4, so we'll change everything for you." But you've got to do what's right for the organisation, but have the strength of character to be assertive and aware of what's going on. We've got some comments.
We have. So James Lovett asks or says that a big criticism of Gen Z is a lack of resilience. How do you think we can address this to prevent this leadership drought to develop further?
Good question.
They just need a good coach.
Yeah. There you go.
And how do I follow on from that to say,
it's
how
like
do
potty
we
training,
convince?
Like they got to do potty training,
I think it's interesting that some of the people who need coaching the most are not open to the thought of it. Are there any strategies that you've developed over time to kind of convince people of the value of this? Because so many people who desperately need it think they know everything there is to know already.
Yeah, that's the reason they need a coach.
Exactly.
So can I ask a question? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in my opinion, right, I work with leaders all over the world, heavy hitters. They're not. Let's start from a thing of what I like about them. they're qualified, they're smart, they're clever people, they're ambitious, they're driven, they know their onions. You get it? They're the people who jump at the chance to work with a coach or mentor.
Yeah, and
right? We're seeing. I've worked with politicians, for example. I've coached politicians. They go kicking and screaming into a coaching relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I know everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm not bad-mouthing politicians, but my experience, and I'm only talking about my experience, they go kicking and screaming. But if I talk with business people, military even, say, I'd love a coach. That'd be fantastic. They embrace it. And these are people who, let's be fair, they earn more money than I earn. They live in nicer houses and drive nicer cars, and they've got shares in this and all the rest of it. They're on big bonuses, and yet why do they need a coach if they're already successful? Because they're not looking for help, they're looking for distinctions. So a lot of coaches out there are trying to help their client instead of give them scenarios where they get distinctions on what they're doing. So I never use the word help with my clients. I'm not there to help them. They've already got a great game. Mm-hmm. But if someone's unwilling to think about, I've got the opportunity to work with a coach, why wouldn't I take it? If they're resisting, that's the reason they need a coach.
Yeah.
And take their hourly rate, multiply it by the number of people they impact. I think you'll find that a coach is cheaper than the damage they're doing.
Yeah. Vanessa's got a question for you. I also do a quick time check. We've got 4 minutes left.
So just James does say, are there enough good coaches out there? Which is a very good question. But I wanted to move on because you mentioned, I'm loving this and I've learned so much. And I love this kind of very straightforward. This is not touchy-feely. This is very straightforward. It's know your onions and then be assertive. And so I love it. You obviously know your onions. You've written a book about this. So tell us why you've called it The Speed of Leadership. And tell us a bit more about the book, because I'm a fan and I want to know more.
Vanessa, this is why you get paid the big bucks. That's a great question, right? Okay, that's a good question. Because my clients don't have the luxury to run back to their office and look what Jack Welch would do. What page was that on?
Yeah.
They have to be in the moment. It's the speed of leadership has got to be your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And, all I did was I worked with high-end life and limb people and said, what works there? And I just dialed it sideways for normal people who don't have those sort of conditions. But you've still got to be on game. So the speed of leadership is not about learning a whole lot of qualities like I got to be more confident or the C's forget it. It's what's my awareness? Your first port of call is awareness. What's going on for me? What am I noticing? So you've got to, a lot of times, some of the best people I've coached recognize they've got a crap game. And they say their awareness is working perfectly. This isn't working well for me. Yeah. And that's speed, so you need that speed. And also too, as a leader, your job is ultimately, your intention is to serve others well. That's steward leadership. And it's also to show up as a grown-up, an empowered grown-up in that, get rid of the word empowered, I hate it. Just show up as a grown-up, right? When I take my grandson down to Battersea Park, right, and we go down in summer it's the ice cream. Grandpa, can I have an ice cream? I said, which one do you want? He says, the chocolate one with a flake in it would be nice. I said, but I haven't got any money. I said, mate, Grandpa's work. Don't worry, mate, I got this. You just go pick an ice cream. That's your job. I'll pay for it. Don't worry. See, grown-ups work.
Yeah. Do you know what? People are loving this. And I think Andy's going to probably just stalk you now. Make sure you are connected into Andrew Priestley, please, because he's just pure gold. Can he come back? Of course he can. We might just capture him and just, make him come out every Monday. Who in their right mind would turn down good education? Funny enough, Andy, quite a lot of people do.
I think it's expensive. It's not. The way you're behaving is more expensive than I am.
Yeah, it's helping people see the difference that it makes, and I think there's a lot of bad coaches out there who are just trying to get money to talk to people, but the good coaches will help you see the value that it will have to your life. And if you can see that, then it's not about the money. It's about something very, very different. We are sadly at the end. Leave us with just one more. One
under the gym.
Do now.
That's a good little book to start if you want an insight into how to think about life. Is this about me or you? Is a really good starting point. It's really about how do you listen to someone who's upset, right? So that really is about just really, we talked about listening. You can't be a good leader. You can't do the job we do unless you're a good listener. I spend most of my time, right now I'm bumping my gums. I could eat an apple underwater and through a picket fence. But like the listening is the skill. And if you're a businessman or woman starting is a good place to go, because it really just orientates you to the role of leading a great business. And ultimately my gem would be grow up. If you're in a leadership role.
I want to say what a grown-up you are, a fabulous grown-up. We have thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show.
Absolutely.
As has everyone else listening to it, and I'm sure everybody that's watching this on replay will leave a comment to say thank you, or just go and find Andrew and tell him he's awesome, because that was incredible.
I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah.
You're on LinkedIn. Do you know what I love about this? It's so... When you say it, it's so simple. I know doing it is a different thing, but that's where the coaching and the mentoring comes in. You've got to learn to do it. But the way you've described it, anybody can understand that. And if you want to learn how to do it, then please get in touch with Andrew. He's not free. Get in touch with me and I'll do my best.
If you're in a leadership role, you use value at the top, and more often than not, I'm dealing with smart people who need someone to talk to. They need a sounding board. And that's the value of a great coach. That is, you will leverage that off the Richter scale.
Absolutely. Andrew, thank you so much. We really hope you'll come back and join us again soon to share some more.
I'd love to,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you everybody for getting involved and saying hello and asking your questions and just showing Andrew the love. And to my co-hosts, Vanessa and Melinda, gorgeous as ever. And we shall see you all next week at the same time. We'll tell you what the topic's about when we've decided what the topic's about. We just discussed it earlier. So it'll be something juicy as ever. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you all next week. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.